Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, as promised, we're going to be doing a breakdown of the Feral Druid on the Midnight Alpha. How does it feel after the pruning that has been done to it and the gameplay changes that have been done to it? What have you lost? What have you gained? What is my kind of overall opinion of the specialization? Because I've been making these videos for a while, reviewing these specs for a while to help you guys make your selection when it comes to your class. And Feral Druid has always ranked amongst the highest of difficulty when it comes to specializations, so much so that even for myself as a veteran, when I've wanted to dedicate time and resources to it, I have found it to be cumbersome. So we're going to be looking through everything to see if they have managed to solve that cumberness and made it a little bit easier to pick up as a result. And if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. So let's just talk about the first things that are gone. So you'll see Adaptive Swarm, gone. So we don't have a keybind with Adaptive Swarm. We don't have to worry about kind of amplifying our dots with that window of time anymore. It's gone. The other big thing that's gone is Blood Talons. It's gone. You don't have to worry about the like 3 different abilities, kind of weird, complicated hit combo before you do your spender. All you have to do is get combo points, spend combo points, put bleeds on people, watch them die in game. That's all you got to do. It's a lot simpler. I think for a lot of people, they've been praying for the day that Blood Talon's downfall comes, and that is the result of it. Next thing is we don't have renewal anymore. Similar to my Boomkin review, this is all druids. You're just not going to get renewal anymore. You don't have to worry about having a keybind to heal yourself. You're just going to automatically heal yourself. This does mean that regrowth becomes your new main staple with predatory swiftness in order to recover your health. But depending on if they can hit their goal with healing adjustments, this effect that's replacing renewal, which is Asina's renewal, may likely actually just end up being more powerful than we have previously seen. So that's another one that is gone. It's on the chopping block. And those are kind of like the 3 core things that are gone for Feral Druid in this next patch. They have buffed Forest Walk. So casting Regrowth increases your movement speed and healing received, and it's going to go up to 16%. I feel like this is going to get nerfed because that's just so high. It seems like so absurdly high. You're going to be so durable with that, almost regardless of what Druid spec you are. If you have the ability to cast Regrowth either pretty easily or instant cast, this is going to be really good. It's going to be really strong. Definitely something that you want to keep your eye on. Might also be getting nerfed really fast because it's kind of strong this early on. Next one is they've introduced a new spell called Chomp. Yes, they actually used the word Chomp for the name of this spell. It's a 20-second cooldown. You will chomp your target for 6,800 damage. Sounds small. It hits harder than Ferocious Bite. However, the limitation is that it can only be used when you have less than 30 energy, which is great for a pain point that Feral Druids have been bringing up for some time. Is once you've spent all of your combo point generators, you sit around while you're out of energy, you're trying to pool your energy, and you don't really have anything to do. Now you can chomp people. And it hits really hard, and it feels very fluid with the rotation that I'll show you in a moment once we get onto the training dummy. So definitely a cool one. The next one is that with Feral Frenzy, they've added a modification to Feral Frenzy, which is called the Frantic Frenzy, which is a 45-second cooldown, and it's basically going to turn your Feral Frenzy into an AoE spell. So now it's like this massive AoE bleed, and this is something double stacked with Primal Wrath Rips, where I could see Feral Druid being really good in AoE situations like Mythic Plus, or situations in PvP where you can get multiple targets stacked together. But obviously, if you want to go for single target, you'll still have the option for Focus Frenzy, which just reduces Feral Frenzy's cooldown baseline by 15 seconds. So that's pretty cool. These all have new animations as well, which I'll be showing you here in a moment once we get into the training dummies. But I just wanted to do a breakdown and overview. Tiger's Fury is now the main staple of your class. It's kind of already the main staple, but it's really the main staple. They've added some improvements to let you know when your dots are being modified to do more damage. I have some feedback for the visuals for it because I feel like the visuals are still not like distinct enough away from the baseline rip and the baseline rake to be able to like really know that you got your empowered bleed up and you don't want to replace an empowered bleed. But I'm glad that they're moving down that direction so that you can actually properly track when you have snapshotted bigger bleeds on a target. This does still mean that the difficulty level of Feral Druid is decently high. I would say that Feral's difficulty, maybe if it was a 10 out of 10 before in terms of how difficult it is, it might be sliding down to a 7.5. I still think that it's still reasonably difficult. Overall, another ability I forgot to mention actually was Brutal Slash. It's gone. And I think that this was a necessary change, given that Shred and Brutal Slash kind of felt the same. I was surprised they didn't have like a talent maybe for it that you could flip between having Brutal Slash or Shred, or some type of AoE component on Shred, because I am a bit worried that maybe the lack of AoE on your combo point builders might end up being an issue, at least in Mythic Plus, and maybe they'll do something to that, because they've been adding AoE to a lot of spells as time goes on. But Brutal Slash is gone, so no Adaptive Storm, no Brutal Slash. Those keybinds are gone. Renewal is gone. They are significantly changing Heart of the Wild. It's a 2-minute cooldown. It's no longer going to increase the speed of your cyclones though, so in PvP situations, casting Cyclone might be rough. Resto Druids are going to get Nature Swiftness Cyclone through a PvP talent, I believe. But the fast clones are gone. It's a 2-minute cooldown that just makes you like secondary tank or a secondary healer. Although the wild growth effects are probably pretty minimal in most cases. I think it's more for the maximum health increase of bear form almost in all content. But Heart of the Wild has like had its core identity shifted. Now, in the recent update for Phase 3, we have new hero talents for Wildstalker. We still don't have any for Druid of the Claw just yet, so this is still kind of a bit of work in progress. But Green Thumb, the rate at which Bloodseeker Vines grow is increased by 20%. Bursting Growth, when Bloodseeker Vines expire or you use a Ferocious Bite on their target, they explode in thorns, dealing 900 damage to nearby enemies, reduce damage beyond 5. And when the Symbiotic Blooms expire or you cast Rejuvenation on their target, you'll grow around their target. The flowers will grow around their target. My vision is bad right now, dude. I can't even barely read that. Healing them and up to 3 nearby allies. So a little bit of focus on healing. Probably the healing part of that, obviously, Feral's not going to be too big. We don't use Rejuvenation. Rampancy, Bloodseeker Vines have a 20% chance to trigger Bursting Growth every 2 seconds at 100% effectiveness. So just a little bit more straight throughput. Nothing really too game breaking there. Now, when it comes to Apex talents, which are the 3 new talents that are coming for every spec, you have some of the most powerful. Unseen Predator, which is when you Ferocious Bite, you have 15% chance per combo point to flicker and send out an unseen attack to another target. It can be a single target with Unseen Slash, or it can be an AoE with an Unseen Swipe. This then is amplified by this Unseen Predator. Unseen attacks increase your damage done by 8%, and remember, this is 2-point talent, so it'll be 16%. And additional applications will extend this effect. So they're really leaning away from cooldown damage and trying to make your buttons just feel strong all the time, which I think is really good overall for the gameplay loop. This is likely leaning into that a bit. It will mean that these are likely mandatory. It seems like they share with the talent pool over here, because obviously I can take something out and take it if I want to, but I'm too low level right now in the alpha to really do anything with it. But yeah, that seems really good. And then finally, the capstone for it, Tiger's Fury causes you to perform one of these unseen attacks after your next 2 combo point generating attacks. Rip and unseen attack damage will be increased by 30%, so even more damage put into your bleeds. So overall, you're getting a really powerful kit that addresses some of the pain points, like low energy issues, more AoE kind of ramp and burst damage in order to get down in Mythic Plus, removal of keybinds to lower difficulty and keybind dexterity, and rotational awareness in that regard, removal of blood talents for a little bit more of a straightforward gameplay loop, and a little bit of a trade-off in power from Heart of the Wild to Forest Walk. Likely we'll have big ramifications, at least in PvP. You're probably going to feel more like an assassination rogue, but in Mythic Plus, you're probably going to feel really good with these changes. So when you're on the training dummy, you can see, I'll show you the Frantic Frenzy. So this is your new kind of big bleed. So if we Tiger's Fury, juice up our bleeds, we can see it go. We don't see Feral Frenzy above the training dummy. This is a bug that I've encountered on the beta before. You can see how I've got Unseen Slash coming up, and you can see how these bleeds are kind of orange. They're orange because that means they're empowered by my Tiger's Fury. So that is something to be aware, that when you have an orange bleed up, that means it's a big bleed, and you probably don't want to replace it. And now you can see I've just replaced it with a little mini rip. I almost wonder if they could add safety bars so that, like, if you have a stronger rip on the target, it'll be like a stronger spell is already active or something to prevent you from in those situations. But I also feel like it's just like not... The color difference is just not that insane. It also seems like Feral Frenzy needs to be added to the bleed, or at least from Frantic Frenzy, because Feral Frenzy shows up down here on the debuff column on the bottom right, but it's not showing up here above the target. But you can see when you press Tiger's Fury, you get the big orange bleeds, and then you go kind of ham with that. And you're just going to be tossing in bleeds, building up energy, and then when you get near low energy, you can chomp. And you see that chomp for 6k damage, almost 7k. That's higher than my Ferocious Bite, right? Like, here's Ferocious Bite. close to as hard as, I mean, that was a crit Ferocious Bite, to be fair. So Chomp feels really good in the rotation. I like the visual change. I think it's a good direction overall, but I think that the visuals could be improved slightly. Oh, we're lagging out a little bit on the alpha here. I feel like the visuals, on the difference between an empowered bleed versus an unempowered bleed could definitely have some room for improvement, just to be more distinct. So you okay, this is my empowered bleed and I'm ready to go. I will say, because I play every single spec in the game, that it does feel a bit more like an assassination rogue that has like more kind of team utility, which increases its complexity in that regard. You basically have like almost the entirely same kit as an assassination rogue, but this added layer of like you're a hybrid, so you got to heal allies and you have roots and things like that in order to keep your enemies kind of at bay or targets controlled. But I will say I think this is a monster improvement from where it was. I think it's a monster improvement from where it was. Obviously, I think we're lagging out right now, but that was pretty much it for my review of the video regardless. So if ever wanted to get into Feral Druid but it's too intimidating, I think Midnight's going to be a lot better of an experience. It's still, though, on the higher end of difficulty. Now, I'm going to be getting on Rogue pretty soon. Rogue has like a lot missing on it, but kind of waiting to see what they're going to do as far as updates for Rogue before jumping on it, because I think for a lot of people, they consider Rogue the most difficult and complex spec, and I'm very curious to see what they're doing with that class entirely, see if they can hit those types of goals. But I feel like this is a really good first step on bringing down the complexity of Feral Druid without kind of removing its core identity. I like that they're aware of the pain points that Feral Druid had, and they've addressed it in a lot of these cases. My personal gripe is just I wish that the empowered bleeds were a bit more visually distinct from their unempowered versions, so that way it's a bit easier to visually track and be like, oh, I've got empowered bleeds on the target. I don't need to reset those. I can Ferocious Bite instead in those environments. But overall, I would say that Feral Druid players are likely going to be very happy with this. Now, Feral Druid players who like to press Cyclone, maybe not so much. Maybe this is time for them to reintroduce the Claws of Shirvala as a PvP talent. If you guys remember that from Warlords of Draenor, which allowed you to cast Cyclone in cat form. Because if they're not going to have the fast clones, shapeshifting out of form is going to be pretty brutal in order to go for clones. So maybe there's something they could do there as far as like a PvP situation. But as far as overall rotation and feel and vibes, I feel like this is a great step. I don't think that they've compromised on what you expect from Feral Druid while bringing back a lot of the essence really of it without this bloated complexity. I think they've done a really good job as a first step for it. So that's my review of Feral Druid. I'm happy with it. It's obviously not done yet, so we'll be relaying you guys updates. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the news. And as the alpha progresses, we're going to get a little bit better gameplay testing as well. My hope is to kind of collaborate with some Mythic Plus creators, do some dungeons, as well as organize some duels, and maybe be able to get some battlegrounds or arenas going as well. So we'll be able to get the whole scope of how the pacing of every class is feeling and the vibes of the class, so that you guys can make the selection for yourself when the expansion goes live and know that you're not walking into like a trap that feels like, oh no, this wasn't what I wanted as far as complexity, or it isn't what I wanted as far as strength and competitive viability. And that is the main aim of the channel. So thank you guys very much for watching and supporting, and I will see you in the next one.